debating many different topics. So here are our classmates, and we're going to start with my topic, my debate topic, and it's about the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. So I'm going to start by arguing with a little bit of a short argument about what if Jesus Christ had not been crucified. And before we start this debate, I want to share a little bit of like introduction to the event, even though we all know what happened, but I just want to share a brief like introduction. So the crucifixion of Jesus Christ is one of the more important, significant events in history as we know nowadays, believed to have occurred between 30 and 33 AD in Jerusalem. According to Christian tradition, Jesus' death was essential for the salvation of humanity, whether you believe or not. So I want to share also two hypothetical change that I consider like what if. So first of all, I want to share with you, all of you, Adriana and Stefania, like if the Roman authorities had chosen to spare Jesus, the message of Jesus Christ, of his resurrection and sacrifice, might have not have become the central to Christianity teachings, Christian teachings nowadays. Other, a little bit of potential effects on the present is, for example, the Catholic Church influence on European politics. Education, culture might have developed a little bit differently. So I want to know by you, both of you, what you think of, like, to, I don't know, so if you, Adriana or Stefania, want to share your points of view about this main topic of Jesus, the crucifixions of Jesus Christ.
Okay. I think the crucifixion of Jesus Christ is a central event in Christmas faith. It represents sacrifice, forgiveness, and love, as Jesus gave his life to save humanity. And many people see it as a powerful symbol of hope and redemption.
Yeah, exactly. What you mentioned just right now is what had been told us by since then till now. And it has a meaning. And like you mentioned, it was the salvation of humanity. So the question is like, what if he didn't die the way he did? Like, we don't know what things or how things now could be done or be, So I am agree with your point of view. It's really nice to share that you share with us your thoughts. So I want to hear you, Stefania, what you think of or what you have to say.
Okay, for me, if Jesus had not been crucified, Christianity might not have spread as widely as it did. And his followers could have lost faith in his message, and the idea of his resurrection might not have become the foundation of a Christian belief.
Exactly. What you say is completely true. And I think the same. Because if Jesus' death had been prevented, Christian communities might not have faced the same persecution, potentially altering the formation of early church tradition. And even though nowadays we know that Christians are still being persecuted by people that didn't think that the thing was the way we know and it had been written. So yeah, it was really nice to share this topic with you and have this debate about what I just mentioned before. So now we're going to continue with our classmate Adriana by sharing her debate topic.
Okay, my topic is the discovery of DNA. If people had not discovered DNA in 1953, life today would be very different. James Watson and Francis Crick found the structure of DNA, but they use important work from Rosalind Franklin and Maurice Wilkins. They show that DNA is a double helix, which explain how genes work. If Franklin had not taken her X-ray pictures, Watson and Chris might not have understood the shape of DNA. Without this discovery, doctors and scientists would not have tools to study genes or to cure many diseases. For example, if DNA had stayed a mystery, we would not have treatments for genetic problems or modern biotechnology. This discovery helps us understand how life works. If it had happened later, medicine and science would be much slower today. So, Lady and Stephanie, what do you think about of discovery of DNA?
Uh, I think that if Watson and Crick had not built their model in 1953, genetics would not have been advanced as quickly as it did. However, it should have been recognized earlier, and that Rosalind Franklin's work was essential to this discovery. If her contributions had been acknowledged at the time, the history of science might have been more just and fair for me.
I am agree with Stefania, and I think that as you mentioned, if we didn't know what we know now about DNA back in the time, I think the evolution of medicine and many things, or the knowledge about humans, couldn't have not been so powerful and developed. So it is, I think that about that topic.
Okay, I agree with you. I think that discovery of DNA is very important for the humanity today.
Yeah, it depends of what do we do we know now about the humans itself. So it is a reason why it is really important. So yeah.
Okay, continue, partner Stephanie.
Okay. My topic is about the disaster of Chernobyl. It must have been one of the worst nuclear accidents in history. It occurred on April 26th in 1986 when the reactor number 4 exploded. The explosion could have been prevented for me if the operators had followed proper safety protocols. However, due to a flawed reactor design and human error, the situation quickly spiraled out of control. If Chernobyl had never exploded, the long-term environmental and health effects would not have been as severe. Today, we have learned a lot from Chernobyl earlier. Perhaps the nuclear safety measures would be more advanced worldwide. What do you think, classmates?
Okay, I think the Chernobyl disaster was a tragic event that could have been avoided with better safety measures if the operators and the government had acted more carefully. Many lives could have been saved. It is a reminder of the importance of safety and transparency in handling dangerous technology.
As you mentioned before, I think it is a really powerful historical event because the radiation, and if you the persons that work in that had a more safety methods, the radiation could not contaminate surrounding areas. Ecosystems wouldn't have been like suffer as severely as it did. And if Chernobyl hadn't realized radioactive materials, part of Europe wouldn't have faced such a long term of contamination. So yeah, it was, and also the cancer that people suffer and all this destruction of a human's body. It is.
Also, if the Soviet government had responded more transparently, fewer people would have been exposed to dangerous radiation. Unfortunately, the authorities should have evacuated the surrounding areas sooner, but they delayed their response.
And now we are gonna share some of our of point of view for the debate about the topic of our classmate Ronaldo Castro that unfortunately couldn't participate because of different time reasons. So his topic is the Cold War. The Cold War, and we are gonna share our a little bit of overview of what we think about that, meaning the topic of our classmate, even though he's gonna make his video separate, but we are gonna share just our thoughts. So I'm gonna start by saying like a question that I had to him. What if the Cuban Missile Crisis had escalated into a full-scale nuclear war? How might the global political landscape have changed aftermath because of that Cold War? And how it could have been prevented? And how historic might be different by now? So now our classmates are going to change either same their thoughts.
Yes, I think that the Cold War changed the world a lot. If the USA and the Soviet Union had worked together, was like Korea and Vietnam might to have happened, and people wouldn't have feared nuclear bombs. Cooperating in space could have led faster progress, maybe even reaching Mars earlier. However, competition also brought advance like the internet and satellites. So in the end, the Cold War had both good and bad effects. If leaders had chosen peace, the world might be less divided today, I think.
Okay. For me, if the United States and the Soviet Union had chosen cooperation over rivalry, the world would have been far less divided. A lot of nations might not have suffered from proxy wars, and countless lives could have been saved. Countries like Korea and Vietnam would not have endured such devastating conflicts if the superpowers had not used them as battlegrounds for the ideological struggle.
Mhm. So this is our debate of our group 63, and we hope you like this video. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.